Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Brian Murphy, Eric Lopez with you here on a freezing cold week in Central Florida. But wow, did we have a busy week indeed, guys? Have you gotten out the winter clothing this week?
I would just like to say that I personally love this, and if
I do too.
If we had more days in the 40s and 50s, I would not be a sad person. I really enjoy this.
Lopez, you got the space heater on, don't you, in the house?
Listen. I don't mind the 40, 50. It's the wind chill, man. The wind. I mean, we knock that off. I mean, let's get back to the 60s. All right, I got Magic games to cover here. I don't be, and I'm going to be wearing like just ridiculous gear.
They don't play outdoors. What are you talking about? Wouldn't that be something if like basketball was played outdoors? That would be fun.
It's not like they're holding the Magic games, in a playground. You're indoors, climate controlled.
Right. 72 and dry. That's all we've got. We are Black and Gold Banneret, UCF's home on the SB Nation Network. You can follow us at UCF_Banneret, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. We've got a lot to talk about here. Men's basketball, could they be turning the corner? We've got women's basketball with a big week, including a huge victory over South Florida. Some football scheduling news as well to talk about, but we start with a national championship because that's what you do when UCF or your team wins a national championship. UCF cheerleading. They've done it 2 times before, in 2003 and 2007. And this year they did it again. They outlasted perennial, a gazillion years in a row champion Kentucky. And UCF wins their 3rd national championship in cheerleading. You can roll your eyes all you want. I don't care. It's a national championship, and UCF is great at this.
Field, all right?
They earned it.
You didn't need polls for this.
Don't need the Collie Matrix for this one, guys. They earned it. They earned it on the stage in their 3-minute routine down at Disney, and to talk about that and just the hard work that their team goes through. We had to go get Linda Gooch on the show, and so we got her. So huge thanks to Colin Yeager for his help on that. But I just actually got off the phone with her, and here is our interview with UCF Cheer head coach and 3-time national champion Linda Gooch on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. And joining me now, the head coach of the now 3-time national champion UCF Cheer Team. She's been at UCF for 35 years. She is an institution, as is the program she captains. Linda Gooch joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Congratulations, Coach. How's it feeling? Has it sunk in yet?
Jeff, I think that it does a little bit more each day, but certainly the first 48 hours, I definitely know it did not completely sink in. Yeah. We've been close so many times in the last 13 years. And so you just never know how it's going to go. And but we were thrilled that it came out, in our favor this time. It was really exciting.
For those who don't follow it, every year it's you guys and Kentucky and usually Alabama. Sometimes someone else will creep in there a little bit in that sort of top 3. But Kentucky has won, I don't even know how many, and it comes down to literally fractions of an inch. Do you hit your routine? Do they miss, or vice versa? And the margin is razor close every year. How good of a shot did you think you had to take the crown this year?
Well, you have we look at it as a coaching staff each year that we want to try to put a top 5 performance together. So those are the elements in the creativity, and then coaching and preparing your team to be able to execute those. You want to be able to put them in a position that they've got something that is a top 5 performance. And then after that, it really just comes down to execution. And I tell our team a lot that, in this particular situation, it's not the most difficult routine. It's not the most talented team. It is the team that is the best on that night in that 2 minutes and 30 seconds that walks away with the title. And so, for us this year, it was particularly gratifying because we went into semifinals, and Kentucky is the reigning national champion. They have won the last 4 titles in a row. So this would have been 5 for them. And we both go into semifinals, and we both hit our routines, and we were scored higher. So we came out of semifinals in first place. And that was really gratifying because then you definitely have a shot. You've just got to go in there and you've got to hit it, because if you both hit your routine, the judges have said we're going to get it, And so for us to head into semifinals in front and be able to hold on to that and come out of finals with the championship was really incredible. It's just an amazing thing with that type of pressure for, our team to be able to respond like that.
And we throw around terms like, hit the routine, but if you could, for those of us who don't quite understand like how tight the margins are, when you say hit a routine as opposed to a miss, like what are the little tiny things that could go wrong that can make the difference between a hit and a miss, and finishing second as opposed to first? How thin is that margin of error?
Well, I know that this year it ended up being between us and Alabama. Kentucky had 2 major falls all the way to the ground, so that knocked them out of the running. Mm-hmm. And so it ended up being between us and Alabama. Alabama had a really rough run in semifinals. And they were able to keep everything in the air in finals, but still were not able to catch us. But it did end up being a half a point difference between the two of us, and that's a half a point out of 50 points. So wow. That's, it's a pretty thin margin. But I think most people are relatively familiar through the Summer Olympics with gymnastics. It would be very much like that. So usually, if you watch a gymnast do a vault and they take 2 steps, they're going to be marked off on the landing, So it's that type of thing. If you're holding a girl in the air with cheerleading and you take 2 steps to balance it, you're going to be marked off. If, you bring the stunt down to your shoulders and then you're able to put it back up, it's going to be 2 points off. Mm-hmm. If it comes all the way to the ground, it's a major fall, and that's 4 points. So wow. Falling is devastating. That's what happened to us last year. We were second heading into semifinals last year, and we had a stunt fall. And so that was what did it for us last year. And this year they were just incredible.
Tell us about the timeline of how you and the coaching staff and the team develop a routine to when you practice and perfect it. How long does it take before you figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how it's different from last year, and then the practice that's involved in making it so that you can hit it on such a sharp margin in competition?
Well, I think in any sport, how you have different cultures and different things that teams are known for. In football, a team might be known for having really tough defense, for example. With our cheer program, we are known for being very consistent and very clean. In other words, you're not going to see a lot of messy elements out there. We try to pride ourselves in setting our team up for success. In other words, give them a routine that they can hit out there. We just believe that it's so important, the mental game, and you can only perform at your best if you're confident in what you're doing. And we want them to be aggressive, and we want them to go for that hit instead of being afraid to fall. We want them to be aggressive and confident in themselves. So we will start on the creativity part of it in the next couple of weeks. We'll start looking at videos. We Now with the internet, my goodness, you can see all of this acro online and things that they're doing internationally. And sometimes you'll see something that someone is doing in acro, and you can modify that and come up with something really cool. That was what we did with our ending pyramid, which was extremely unique this year. Mm-hmm. And we were able to modify something that we had seen, an overseas team do, and modified that to make it work for us, and added a few things to it, and it was very exciting. So we'll start the creativity part of it, in the next couple of weeks, and try to come up with some really good concepts, ideas, and we'll work on those things throughout the summer. Last summer, we came up with all of the dismounts that we wanted to do from the different partner stunts. And if you watch the routine, those were some of the really exciting elements were, what did we do? How do we transition out of those tricks? And that will be in the summer. And then as we get towards football season, that is just a freight train going full speed. And we're very, very focused on making sure that we do a great job in our stadium in entertaining our fans and getting our fans involved in the football games. So that's our major focus, certainly through October. And then as we head toward homecoming, then we'll start to kind of make a turn and start, focusing a little bit more on the competition aspect as we roll toward basketball season. So that's how it kind of goes for us. And then we certainly spend a majority of the Christmas break training and getting ready and perfecting things, and being ready for that second weekend in January.
Gosh, you guys do so much work to prepare for this. Tell us about what your student athletes do in comparison to, say, other athletes around camp, because they are student athletes and this is a sport. You can get very seriously hurt doing it. It takes incredible strength and speed and athleticism. And the other thing I think is, for example, in basketball, you play 30 games, right? You guys have basically 5 minutes to show your best, So how much work do they put in to get that, to be ready for that moment?
Well, it's just like any sport. When football finishes their bowl game, they turn around and they're back to their underclassmen. They're back to work right away. Our team, we finished finals on Sunday, and Monday we came back to campus, and then Tuesday they were in the weight room, and very excited to be back in the weight room. We practiced tonight. This will be our first practice back this evening. So we'll practice. This is kind of what we think of as our off season. And so we'll be working to get, bigger and stronger for our guys in the off season. And, and then as we roll into summer, of course, they get that summer break like all of the student athletes do. And I did want to mention, one of the great things about our UCF athletic department is just the support that everyone gives each of the different athletic teams here. And the teams support each other. So it is really just a great family atmosphere here. And it's just the outpouring from the other coaches and the other staff members has just been really awesome for our team members and for our own coaching staff as well.
That's got to be huge, to know that there are other people who are, outside of the bubble of your own sport, to see that, your hard work gets recognized and appreciated, especially because you guys are at you guys are at every UCF sporting event pretty much, and are representing your team there. It's amazing.
She was texting me, Coach Abe from our women's basketball coach, she was texting me throughout the weekend, like every step of the way as we finished, semifinals, and she was texting, go get it, it was really great. And then Todd Dajney, he called me that evening, and it's just been really wonderful. And they're that way throughout the year. We've had Coach Dawkins come and speak to our team. He has just such inspirational words about his own experiences competing at the highest level. And, like I said, it truly is just such a wonderful family atmosphere. And it's not just the staff. Of course, everything comes from the top, leadership. But it's also the other teams, our cheerleaders, they know the players on the other teams, and everyone gets along, and they're all so supportive. It's really great.
That's awesome. So I want to wrap up here, I guess. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, Coach, okay? 2003, 2007, and 2020, if you had them all go head to head at their very best, which team comes out on top?
Well, like anything, things change and develop. I definitely would have to say that the 2003 team was a very special team. They were the first team to, just to break that glass ceiling. At that point, the University of Kentucky had won 8 straight national titles, and I don't know that there were a lot of schools that thought anybody else was going to be able to catch them, and we did. That team there, they believed it. They dreamed it, and they believed it, and they made it happen. So, but every team is special. There's no question about it. I just don't think there's anything like the first one, though.
Gosh, that's awesome. Well, I know that the 2003 team, they've been inducted into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. 2007, probably not that far behind, and here's to one day 2020 being recognized as well in the future. So congratulations once again, head coach Linda Gooch, UCF Cheer. Hey, here's to defending the crown in 2021, because I know you're, like you said, you're already getting ready for that as well.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks to Coach Gooch, and congratulations once again to the nice cheerleading team on another national championship. And wow, it was. I actually saw the routine. Now, I have a friend, a very good friend, who actually was on the UCF cheerleading team around the time that they won their first national title. She wasn't actually on the floor for that team, but was apparently, there's a bunch of people that are on the team, and there's a sort of like a performance group basically. But she was around at that time, and to see this routine, I got the video up on our story about it. It's really amazing that they get to do this all in 3. First of all, the gymnastics that these people are doing, the feats of strength are really remarkable, and to do it all in such a pressure-packed 2.5, 3 minutes is just, to me, it's insane. Like I told Linda, basketball teams play 30 games a year. These people get 5 minutes, and in their big competitions, and it's pretty remarkable. Are we spoiled by that as UCF fans, do you think, guys?
Oh, I don't know if spoiled is the word. It's been really interesting, right? Cheerleading was, you mentioned it, this is the 3rd national championship. This is a fascinating story because there's been a drought. 2007 was the last time they won the national championship, and you wondered if they were ever going to win it again, because it felt like Kentucky or Alabama, they were going to always win every year and things like that. I remember there was one of the events a few years ago. A lot of people thought UCF should have won, didn't win, things like that. So you just wondered if they can get back on top. And then they did this year. They got off to that great start on Saturday and closed it out on Sunday. Very narrow victory over Alabama, as you mentioned. Spoiled, but it is. To be perfection. Really, in these type of events, you have to be perfect, basically, literally. If you make one, it's kind of insane now with social media, people breaking this stuff down. One little wobble here or there, and everybody flips, oh my God, it's not perfect. But it is. It's exposure for the university. It's a good credit. Linda Gooch should be in the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame for what she's done there, to have one of the top cheerleading performers, because they don't, and you know more about this, Jeff, because you work there behind the scenes stuff. They don't have the luxury of other schools as far as scholarships, the amount of scholarships and things like that. It's not like they're in an even playing field with some of the other bigger schools like the Alabama and Kentucky. Am I right on that?
No, you're absolutely right on that. Kentucky, I know for a fact Kentucky hands out scholarships, to their cheerleaders.
And whereas UCF, that's necessarily, right? Is that correct?
They're at a slight disadvantage of that, but that doesn't take away from the work that they put into this.
No. It really, it's pretty remarkable. And Mike, and you wrote about this, you can read it right now in Black and Gold Banneret. The thing that surprises me, because you mentioned this in your article, and I wonder if you knew anything about this. The 03 cheerleading team is in the Hall of Fame, in the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame.
Correct.
But the 07 is not.
Yeah, I don't know the deal behind that. I don't know what's going on with that.
It's a little weird, and I only bring that up because, UCF Athletics Hall of Fame now is going to become an annual thing, and And I remember you were a big part of this. You did a big feature on this, and they were inducted into the 2015 Hall of Fame. That was the 78 volleyball national championship team, which you know more about. I'll let you talk about that backstory on that.
Right.
But I was kind of caught off guard. Wait a minute, why isn't the 07 team inducted?
I just think it's because they got lost in the shuffle because the Hall of Fame, we didn't have a Hall of Fame for a while, and they were really, and now that it's back, they're trying to get, some guys that they may have missed the last few years in there first. But
we got one this year.
Yep. So my hope is that it should happen. If not this year, hopefully very soon, because a national title is a national title. You hang a banner, you're the best in the country.
Yes, and I'm happy that people gave it the credit it deserved and respect. I was worried when this came out that this was going to turn into some silly UCF Alabama joke and going back to the football because and I get it. Everybody, whatever, they think it's funny material. That's great. That's kind of like Jay Leno's material. It goes flat after a few years and it's not funny, but people, he thinks it's funny. But I just glad that they got the proper credit and the exposure because this is a big deal for them. And I marveled at the other schools congratulating UCF and the young ladies and the performers as well. I think that was a lot of class that I think other sports and fan bases can take, can learn from a little bit, don't you? I mean, I thought it was tremendous. It's unfortunate. What's weird, even with today's technology, this event will not be broadcasted on the ESPN until like 2 months from now. It's very weird.
Right.
I don't know why it's not televised live on ESPN3 or something like that. So, thankfully, somebody I think that would get some big ratings for ESPN. Actually, to be honest with you, because it's like the Olympics. It's going to bring in the college crowd, but it's also going to bring in a lot of people who don't normally watch sports. Well, it's just weird though that we have to wait like 2 months. It's like the old days. Like what? Like
right?
We can't watch it live. It's just kind of weird. But you're right. I mean, I'm sure we're going to hear about that when it comes out, and I would assume that they will be honored at the earliest. The next UCF men's basketball game and the Memphis game, I would imagine they get honored there, if not soon after that, for what they provided. Again, 3 national championships. Pretty remarkable story when you consider all the backstory with the scholarship situation and what she's done there. And you got a chance to talk to her. What was your kind of you've known her for a long time. I would imagine that this has to be a little extra special, right? Because there's probably, and I don't know if you ever admit it or not, but there might be some doubts if you ever get the benefit of the doubt sometimes and win this national title again, right?
Well, I think you heard it in the interview there. I mean, they knew they had a good shot after the semis when they finished first in the semis, and I think that gives you a good indication of where you are, because they kind of already had a pass, but you do have to come up into the semis in order to perform, and that was when they knew. And then it was just a matter of, do you hit everything that you have to hit? Does nobody fall? Does nobody bobble? All that kind of stuff. It's just on such a, like we talked about with her, it's just such a razor thin margin, and to see them come out on top is really gratifying. Murph, I know you have a cheerleading take in you.
I think it just shows how difficult it is to win a national championship, and even if if you win it like an Alabama football team has every year, it's a difficult thing. And so when you go not just 1 year, 2 years, but a full decade or more without one, knowing that you have the talent to win one almost any year, it's still just a amazingly special achievement, and just congratulations. That it's what you work for all year long. And in cheerleading, I know we don't talk about it a whole lot, but I mean, the physical demands of that sport are the things that are not talked about enough. And those who have watched documentaries on cheerleading know like how demanding that sport is. So to reach the apex of your sport is just it's what you do. It's what you work for.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. And if you ever get the chance, we see it sometimes when we see other teams. Other teams, cheer teams come in, and who the good ones are, and then that it's, and the ones who don't make that kind of a commitment. But UCF has made that commitment for 35 years under Linda Gooch, and to see them win that national title once again,
they're a powerhouse program.
Program.
They're a heavyweight program, and Alex Martins, if you're listening, Let's get them out there at a Magic halftime game.
Yes.
Let's get them out there as well.
Come on,
Let's
Alex.
do that as well.
Make it happen. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about men's basketball. Lots of news to talk about here. Big win over South Florida that we're going to talk about here in a little bit and more. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, Brian Murphy with you here. UCF_Banneret on Twitter. You can follow us individually at Jeff_Sharon, Spokes_Murphy, Eric Lopez Elo. All right, let's talk some hoops, boys. Big win for UCF over South Florida, led by the defense the other night. They're playing now. UCF has another big game. This is kind of a little mini gauntlet that they're going through right now at Wichita at 8:00 on Saturday. But now 2 straight wins in conference to get to 11-7 overall, 2-4 in the league, and this was a rock fight against South Florida. 55-54 was the final, but UCF gets the win over the Bulls back on Saturday night. You get a week off after this grueling game, but how about UCF in this game shooting 7 of 18 from 3? I believe that, they out-rebounded USF by 1, and top scorer for UCF in this game, 2 players with 11 points each, Cesar DeJesus and Dazon Ingram, who's really starting to, I think, hit his stride in terms of taking the ball to the hoop. But both of you guys watched this game. I know, Murph, you had your keen eyes on it as well. This was just this game was as close as it gets. What was the difference for UCF in this game, though?
Defense down the stretch. And I will say also, like, when a team like South Florida goes 4 for 26 from deep, and granted, they are one of the worst three-point shooting teams, but when you go 4 for 26, there's some luck there. UCF's perimeter defense wasn't always great. It was just some missed open shots. Both teams missed a lot of open threes, but in the final 2 minutes where it really counted, when UCF was down by 5, their defense just stepped up and clamped down. USF up by 5 with 2:14 to go. Then they don't score a point from there on after. UCF gets a clutch 3 from Matt Milan out of a timeout, and then the rest is basically Dazon Ingram forcing his way to the foul line. Now, you might disagree if you're USF coach Brian Gregory, who vehemently disagreed after the game with the call that put Ingram at the line on the final possession of UCF's game, their final offensive possession. But the fact is that Ingram drove, does what he does, which is draw contact, get fouled. He made 3 free throws. And then at the other end, UCF clogged the paint when LaQuincy Rideau came down. He had a couple of looks at it, but really none of them were open. They were all very contested, crowded. And again, these last 2 games, both against Tulane and now USF, you've seen the type of basketball that Johnny Dawkins has always played, which is it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be pretty ugly at times. Certainly in the first half it was, but defense is what's going to get you wins. And certainly in this game, that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, clutch also, like you said, hitting scoring the last 6 points of the game in the final 2 minutes. I love what I'm seeing from Dazon Ingram right now in the last 2 games. I think I don't know what he's figured out, but I think it's, hey, if I go to the basket, good things are going to start happening. Again, tied for the scoring lead with 11, but 6 rebounds to go with. I'm actually pulling up this new box score, throwing me out. 5 assists, 2 blocks, and a partridge in a pear tree.
With Dazon, it's just about being aggressive, and he knows this, and he knows that there, before this little 2-game stretch, he had seen his minutes dwindle because he just wasn't being assertive enough, and that's the whole thing. Like he knows what he can do. His talent is not scoring or really even shooting. It is about creating and driving and using his 6'6" frame to either draw contact at the rim or dish out for open shots, and we've seen him do that. And so that is where his game is, and as he goes, it sort of seems like as he gets better, this team improves, and so that's something to watch out for, as we go through the season. Colin Smith is still the team's best player offensively, certainly, But this is another game where Collin got in foul trouble early, and they sort of had to deal with that. He missed, I think, all but 4 minutes of the first half due to foul trouble. But because Dazon is doing more offensively and not just putting it upon himself, but doing more to get his teammates involved, the offense doesn't slip as far as it might have when Collin's not in the game.
Eric, do you feel like this team's turned the corner a little bit here?
I think they're turning the corner defensively, to Murph's point. That's, and I wrote about it on the recap on the Black and Gold Banneret, which, by the way, it felt good finally to have write a recap of a win. I was very nervous I was going to get fired if we kept losing games. We're a recap. I mean, it's hard enough.
I don't think you'll have to worry about that, but anyway.
I was worried. I mean, I'm filling in for the legend Brian Murphy because he's writing for other, the paper, the local paper, as we say. I feel like Scottie Pippen, following Michael Jordan. It's not easy.
All right. Okay, that's enough.
But I wrote on the Black and Gold Banneret, I kind of do like a 3-point play type of deal, breaking down certain things. And this is the second consecutive game that UCF has now given up fewer than 40% shooting from the field defensively, and they've given up less than 60 points. That's really the identity of this program under Coach Johnny Dawkins, Murph and Jeff. And Murph, he mentioned that in the post game about this is back to their identity. And I was looking up some stats. Now I'm warning you that I might be off a game or two because I was looking this up while 2:30 in the morning watching Fabio Fognini in the Australian Open come back from
your
2 sets
Australian
down.
Open. Oh my God!
So nicely done. I enjoy it.
Thank you. So if I sound a little groggy, that's why. But I'll give you the stat. Under Coach Dawkins, in the Dawkins era, when UCF has given up under 70 points defensively, they're 67-17 overall. It's a 79% win percentage there. When they've given up under 60 points, like they've done the last 2 games, they're 38-7. 84% win percentage. UCF wins 84% of the time when they give up under 60. And I think half of those losses, by the way, when they've given up less than 60 and lost, are those Cincinnati games.
You might be right.
I really do. I looking it up, I remember that's Cincinnati. When UCF's given up over 70 points, they're 9-21. 9-21. 30% of the time they've won in the Dawkins era. When they've given up 70 points or more, Murph, this is not a team that's going to win games in the 70s. They got to play them in the 50s or the 60s. That's the recipe, and that's going to be no different in Wichita this Saturday where you're going to be at, Murph, because in the 3 meetings they've had with Wichita State, including last year's 1 meeting, Wichita State has scored over 70 points and has won each of those 3 meetings, and Wichita State averages 73 points a game. So if you want to look at a key for the Wichita State game, is defensively, can they keep them in the 50s and 60s? Because they're not going to win games in the high scoring. But this is the identity of Coach Dawkins in this program. It starts on defense, and they're finally playing like that in the last couple games. That's the encouragement.
Totally right. And as far as the Wichita State game goes, not only is it about shutting down their shooters, but Wichita State's defense is one of the best in the country. And what's so amazing about this conference in general, if you look at it, like we talk about UCF's defense is pretty good, and it is. Like it really is pretty good if you look at the metrics. However, and it only ranks 9th in the conference, even though it's among the top 95 in the nation. Wow. There's so many good defensive teams in this conference, and Wichita State this year has been one of them. They hold opponents to under 30% from 3-point range. Only 43% from 2-point range. On Ken Palm, they're 10th in adjusted efficiency on defense. And so this could be another one of those games where, first to 60 wins. However, because the way Wichita State has gone about this year, I feel like they have just more weapons. I mean, when they can bring an Eric Stevenson off the bench as they did against USF, I mean, they've gotten deeper this year offensively.
He's their leading scorer, Murph. I mean, it's what's scary about this Wichita State team. What's interesting is they don't have a dominant scorer. They don't have that Larry Shamet guy that you knew was a guy that could take over a game. But what they do have is a lot of balance. You mentioned Stevenson. He's their leading scorer, averaging 12.5 a game. Jamarius Burton, 10.8. Echenike, 10.7. Tyson Etienne, nearly 10 points a game. Grant Sherfield, who you could argue maybe is their best all-around player. He definitely runs their offense. 8.5 a game. Trey Wade, 8 point. I mean, there is not one guy you can focus on. It. The scoring can come from a bunch of different places, which makes him a tough guard.
And the reason why Stevenson's come off the bench is because he's basically just been awful the last 2 games. Yeah. He really just had no shot, so they put him on the bench. However, I mean, going in that, so, everybody knows about Wichita State, the way that they've rebounded this year after last year's total turnover. And in the second year, really, with this squad, they've taken off. They beat Memphis at home back 2 weeks ago. And then since that Memphis game on January 9th, they had a double overtime win against Connecticut, which they could have easily lost, almost blew it. They did lose to Temple on the road, and then got absolutely smacked at home by Houston, and then beat USF last night, who, again, USF has its own problems that I can't get into again because it makes me very sad. But Wichita State has not looked great in these last few weeks since beating Memphis. However, they're still probably, at worst, I would say, the third best team in this conference. And, playing in that, I don't know how long it's been since UCF has won in that gym, but Wichita State, you just don't win there. I mean, it's really, really difficult to win there. Houston has done that. They just did that this weekend, but UCF has never. I don't know how long it's been. I gotta look that up. How long it's been, but it's an amazing environment.
I don't know if we have.
Yeah, I don't think have they won there. I don't think they have.
Let me look it up here real quick.
Yeah, while you guys looked it up, that's going to be an interesting atmosphere. And you mentioned the 3-point shooting, Murph. Well, Matt Milon in the last 4 games, 12 of 26 from the 3-point line. Previous 14 games to that, 10 for 39. I know, look, it's a shooter. You go to hot stretches and cold stretches. But I think the biggest thing that struck me, and Coach Dawkins talked about it in the postgame, you were there, is his leadership. They were down 5 in the South Florida game with 2 minutes, and it was Matt Milon that spoke up and said, hey, we're fine. And he hit the big 3 to get him within 2 points. I think him and Dejon stepping up as the seniors here, huge for this team moving forward, and they're going to have to be good, especially if they're going to try to steal a game at Wichita State. But I think Matt's been much better in the last 4 games beyond just the shooting, just his activity overall. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I think it's also just the confidence and sort of he understands that he was putting too much pressure on himself early in the year to make this a perfect homecoming for him, and he was sort of wearing that pressure and affected his play. But I think he's settling down. And, again, that leadership, though, is really important. It's what they need out of him. And for him to step up in that moment, not only in the huddle, but then right afterwards they drop a play for him. I mean, Dawkins said they drew up a play for him because of what he was saying in the huddle, the confidence he showed in that moment, down 5 with 2:14 to play. They drew up a play for him. He came up a screen and did what he's supposed to do, which is drain threes. So it's a big moment for UCF's offense to get him going a little bit. Yes, there will be ups and downs in his season because that's what happens with shooters who aren't, among the best of the best. But this is certainly a positive sign the last, 5 or 6 games for UCF with Matt Milon.
And I'll say this, that 3-point shot could arguably be one of the most important shots of the year to date. If he doesn't make that shot, Murph, odds are they go on and lose that game, which drops them to 1-5 with going to Wichita State. You got to play Memphis. You just wonder if this season just goes south at that point, right? And instead, he hits the 3. They win the game. They're 2-4. They got 2 tough games ahead, but you feel good about yourself. Maybe you get a split here with Wichita State and Memphis. Get yourself at 3-5 and make a run in the back end here and finish strong. I think that was a significant 3-point shot against your rival. It reminded me, and Jeff, I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember the year it was, but I know it was back when USF was a non-conference opponent, so it was rare that these 2 programs played. But it was the one where about a decade ago where Drew Spurlock, I'm outdating myself, came around on a screen and drilled a 3, and the crowd erupted. Because, it was Kirk Spurlock's son. I don't remember the game.
That was in December. It's funny because I was looking up the records, but it's December of 2008. And it was a 71-63 win for UCF over USF at the time. That was UCF's first ever win over a then Big East opponent.
And that was significant. They were wearing the gold, and when he hit the 3, it light up the crowd, and it was a turning point in that game. And it kind of reminded me of that with Matt's 3, which, by the way, that was a lively crowd on Saturday night. I thought it was a fun atmosphere. Now we just got to learn to not throw confetti into the court. Okay.
Hey, Eric, you can make the argument that if Matt doesn't hit that 3, possibly this game comes down being decided by that technical free throw.
By the stupid confetti.
Oh,
would have been a disaster.
Right, that was not. I was nervous about that. I was like, wow, is Murph's headline going to be confetti? Do I have to write about confetti? Thankfully not.
No.
Hopefully we learn our lesson there. I don't know why we didn't get a warning. Why was it an automatic technical? Because in the but nonetheless, thankfully it didn't matter. We made stops. By the way, Brian Gregory, with respect, who's had a tough year, so let's give him some, he's been a frustrating year for South Florida. They've not lived up to the expectations, certainly not to the expectations that Brian Murphy put out on this program before the year that they were going to be an NCAA team. Granted, they lost their best player before the year. They remind me a lot, actually, a little bit of the year where UCF had all the injuries, Murph. Remember that when Dawkins was out right before the year, then B.J. Taylor gets hurt the first game of the year, doesn't come back till halfway through, then we lose Taco. And it was kind of a what-if year. Really, it was an amazing job for Coach Dawkins. And I think this South Florida season is proving what a job and what a coach Dawkins was, because he had a ton of injuries that year, and they still managed to win 19 games. We were both at Amway, and we were actually having conversation about, hey, this team could make the NIT depending on how they do, which is kind of crazy looking back with all the issues they had on that team. I feel like South Florida is going through that. That being said, that was a good no call on the last play. I watched the game again on replay, on archive, and I got to give a credit to UCF Video Services. They've been doing this kind of a post-game show on Twitch with Mark and Taylor, where they go into video, and they actually showed highlights and broke it down. He was never touched. The USF player, Rideau, I can't pronounce his name well.
Rideau.
Thank you, Rideau. He drove in. He was not touched by Colin Dazon. That was a good non-call by the refs. So I think they got that one right. And then the Dazon one is tricky because the USF defender, Rideau, he put his hand on Dazon's back as Dazon was driving to the basket, which some would argue throws off the balance, and that's what they call. Now, some think it's ticky-tack, some it's not. It is what it is. He got the call. So I want to address that because Gregory did address that in the postgame. But, like I said, I thought that was a very significant moment. Big win. You big your rival, and we'll see what they do against the Wichita State team back at home. But I thought those are kind of big points there, and really for this team to step up, and we'll see what happens.
Key note here that just to answer that question from before, UCF all-time against Wichita State, 0-3. 2 of those losses at Wichita State. So,
and all three games, Wichita State has scored over 70 points.
Yep.
So if you want to look at some keys here, UCF's got to keep this in the 50s and the 60s, Murph, and got to keep this crowd under control. That, I'm looking forward to it because you're going to be there in person. I know you're looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. I would make the argument, and you and I saw them up close take over Amway Center, really salvage the American Conference and bailed them out from an attendance standpoint when Orlando hosted it a couple years ago. I think Wichita State basketball fans are the best sports fans of any sport in the league. Better than any football fan base, any baseball fan base. I would take Wichita State over anybody in this conference. That's how much.
That's a hot take.
Well, because I've seen them. I've seen them at Disney.
They're great.
I'll never. That was my image, Murph and Jeff, from that American Conference tournament. Was the sea of the Wichita. I mean, it's not like it's a drive from Wichita to Orlando. They drove all the way over there. I don't know how much they drew in Memphis, but it's a big crowd, and they support that program big time. And they have one of the best coaches in Greg Marshall.
Yeah, they really are a fantastic fan base. Go ahead, Murph. I'm sorry. You got the last word.
That's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to this. I thought Wichita State would be good this year, but I'd never been there as a fan, and it's always been one of the best environments in college basketball. And I don't know about every sport, but just in terms of this league in basketball, it's up there with Memphis. When Memphis is really good, as they are now, that's a great place to play. Not for UCF, who can't win there either. But it's a great place to be because that fan base in Memphis is so supportive. But in Wichita State, you're probably right. It probably is the best fan base in this conference for basketball.
And especially, I feel like they're more loyal. You mentioned Memphis, you're right, but we saw towards the end of the Josh Pashner era, the Memphis fans kind of wavered, and we saw how they turned on Tubby quickly. Whereas the Wichita fans, I've felt they have always been loyal to that program through thick. Not that they've had a lot of struggles recently, but when they have, like last year, there was a rebuilding year, and they still packed the place.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so great, right? And so it's a great environment, just a great college basketball environment. It hasn't been friendly to UCF, but I'm looking forward to just sort of being in that crowd, or not in the crowd per se, but sort of soaking it in. And it is a great place to be if you like college basketball.
That's awesome. So, again, that's Saturday, and then don't forget, obviously, next Wednesday, UCF plays at Tulane. So quick turnaround, or excuse me, no, that's wrong. Excuse me. I'm looking at the women's schedule. Sorry about that. At Wichita Saturday, home for Memphis Wednesday. I'm so sorry, guys. Home for I was looking at the
difference there.
Yeah, I was looking at the women's schedule, which we will transition over to now.
Well, let me go before we go to that. Since we're not going to do a show prior to the Memphis game, well, probably the next show we do will be after the Memphis game, Murph.
Right.
Your thoughts on Memphis post, all the drama that's happened there with their best player being, leaving,
James Wiseman,
the number one, James Wiseman.
Right.
They're still on top of the league. What do you expect to see from Memphis when they arrive here against UCF? And do you believe? I think that's UCF's best shot. If they want to split these two games, I think that's their better shot. I still have questions about Memphis. Do they show up on the road? I mean, they were outplayed by South Florida in Tampa a couple weeks ago for 40 minutes. I think that's UCF's best shot. But what do you think about the Tigers? Do you still believe they're the team to beat?
Yeah, I think it's either them or Houston. I think Houston's put themselves in that conversation by just how much they've gotten better and then, and sort of emphasize that with how they really took down Wichita State over the weekend. But I do think that in terms of talent, in terms of just pure talent, even without James Wiseman, I'd still believe that Memphis is the best team in this league. Precious Achiuwa was going to be a lottery pick. DJ Jeffries was I think the player of the week this week, or at least the freshman of the week this week. But they have so much talent that I think if it all clicks, they're the best team. They're the best team. But like you said, Eric, they have shown an ability to not always play up to the potential on the road. Certainly, at Wichita State they never led, and then at South Florida they should have lost down by 13, 14 points with the play. So you could see UCF being competitive in that game. But as it always is with Memphis, you've got to stop them in transition. You've got to get back on defense. You've got to make sure the shots you take offensively are smart shots. Because if you get long rebounds after them, they're often going, and it's really, really, really difficult to stop them. And also, I should also mention, they are right there with Wichita State in terms of defense. They're so good defensively. They're best in the conference, or best in the nation at 2-point opponent's field goal percentage, 37.8% in 2-point range.
Wow. Even without Wiseman. Thank God they don't have Wiseman, because if they did, my God. So we'll be looking forward to that one. By the way, Murph, you're going out to Wichita. Definitely recommend you check out the B-29 dock exhibit over by Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport. One of two remaining flying Boeing B-29s that are out there, and it's stored for the winter, but you can go take a tour. Definitely recommend it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeffrey.
You're looking for stuff to do out in Wichita. I mean, because after all, there must not be much to do in Wichita when they're packing out that place, even though the team is, last year wasn't very good. So
you're sort of right.
Tell me I'm wrong about that.
Right, you're sort of right. I mean, that's why they have such a committed fan base.
There's nothing else to do. It's Wichita, Kansas. Not everybody can go fly in a B-29. Anyway. Let's go talk about the women's basketball team off of I thought for a second there we would have to do an emergency podcast last Thursday night. The UCF, the last two games, home for UConn, at USF. I think you really got to be encouraged about UCF women's basketball right now, because they lose to UConn at home 59-52 in a game that, we could stand here and say, moral victory. I don't think there are any moral victories. I think they come out of that game thinking to themselves, man, we had them on the ropes, and if we just made some shots, we could have knocked them off. And then just to back that up, they go into Tampa on Sunday, 3 days later, and knock off USF 64-57 behind a plus 10-point fourth quarter. I want to start by talking about the UConn game, because you guys are both there. That was my feeling on it, was watching it from afar, was, dadgummit, I feel like UCF should be a little ticked off that they lost this game. Not so much encouraged by how well they played against a team like UConn, but that, man, they had them, didn't they?
Eric, who wants to tell Jeff that he's wrong? You or me?
You know what, Murph, since you covered the game, that one for the Sentinel, and you wrote about it, and we were both there. I'll let you, for a change, start the women's basketball conversation.
Okay, Murph, I'll let you tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead.
All right. So we asked both the players and Coach Abe after the game if they take a moral victory out of this because they only lost by 7 to UConn. And sure enough, Coach Abe says, I think so. And I'm quoting her directly here. I think so. I told them before the game, this is really not about UConn. It was really about us because we need a bounce back from the last game we played. Talking about that Cincinnati loss where they lost by 25.
Mm-hmm.
That was night basketball, and this was. This is how we should be playing every single game. So the moral victory is you can play this way. You can play with really tough, relentless, fierce, together, and have great energy. I just wanted them to come out and be the identity that we had been, that we had lost when we went to Cincinnati. That's the moral victory that I really saw. Yes, there is a moral victory in this game, Jeffrey, and she said it.
Okay. Now are they saying that publicly, or do you think in the locker room they're like, man, we could have gotten?
No. I agree with her. That was sincere. That was very sincere, don't you think, Murph? And the reason why it was sincere, she was genuinely ticked off about the Cincinnati game, right, Murph? Didn't you get that tone? Remember when she brought that up? I don't think she liked the way they came out in the Cincinnati game, and I don't think she liked the defense. Remember, I asked her a follow-up after Murph asked her that question about, was this a result of the defense identity, finding your identity again after the Cincinnati game where they gave up 81 points and gave up every, easy baskets? And she agreed. Yes, she said yes, that's the identity, and being tough defensively and holding UConn to 59 points. I'm not going to say they had UConn on the ropes. I think that's a little exaggeration. They had a drought in the second quarter. UConn had a double-digit lead. UCF did a nice job coming back, but I thought they played well defensively, and they carried that over to the South Florida game, holding the Bulls to 57 points. That's how they're going to win games. We talked about earlier Coach Dawkins and the identity of the program being defense. Well, there's no that's the obvious with Coach Abe. Again, I did this research during the Australian Open. I think this was during the Coco Gauff portion of the match, for the record, when she came back and won a 3-setter. Might have been that one. But so how about this? When Coach Abe in the Coach Abe era, because I was up late, give me a game or two room for error. When UCF has given up less than 60 points in the Abe era, they're 74-5. That's a 93% win percentage when they've given up less than 60 points, okay? On the contrast, when they've given up 70 points or more, they're 1-17. 1-17. The one win was a quarterfinal win against Temple 2 years ago, the year they lost to South Florida in the semis of the American Conference Tournament up at the Mohican in UConn. They gave up 70 points in that game. That's it. They won like a 77-70 game, something like that. This is a team that has to play in the 50s and 60s. They win with defense. And I think what she was ticked off about was that Cincinnati game, they just got torched defensively. And I think that bothers her more, even than the offensive struggles. Would you agree with that, Murph? I mean, I'm not saying that she wants them to execute offensively. But when they don't execute defensively, I don't think she stands for that at all. And I think that was the message she sent after that UConn game. That's what I think. That's why I think it was, in a way, a moral victory, because defensively they got back to who they were, and that carried over to South Florida.
Right, because so much about playing good defense is just about want to and effort and energy. I mean, those are things that you shouldn't have to coach, And so being good defensively, yes, there's technique and talent, but also a lot of it's just how much do you want to guard and play hard, and that's what she wants out of her teams.
So I think I want to look real quick at how the rest of the next couple games set up for them, because looking at that's the men's schedule. Looking at the women's schedule, they are at Tulane. I got them both in the same window on two different tabs. It's bad. They're at Tulane on Wednesday. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon, so that's tonight by our time. And then they're they're home from Memphis on Saturday. And just to take a quick peek at the RPI here, because I want to make sure that we take a look at this.
And while you look that up, that is what is significant, okay, about the UConn game, which you could argue is a half victory, is Charlie Cream, who is the women ESPN's bracketologist. He's the Joe Lunardi of women's basketball. We've had him on this show. UCF, prior to the UConn game, was not even mentioned in Charlie Cream's bracketology.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, You look at the most recent one on Monday. They came out. UCF's on the next 4 out. Think about that. They're on the next 4 out, going 1-2. That tells you the how impressed they were with that UConn score, being only a 7-point game. I do think that matters in women's basketball. I do think that matters with the committee when you look at that and like, wow, they played UConn real tough. They played UCLA real tough without KK and could have won that game. UCLA is a top 10 team in the country. And then to win at South Florida in a game that to me is a signature game for KK Wright's legacy.
28 points in that game. She was amazing.
And dominated the fourth quarter when somebody needed to take over, and she did. As I mentioned to someone close to, that follows the program, I think this is what you've seen now. And Abe is now 4-3 against Jose Fernandez. A great rivalry there. They've won the last 3 meetings. UCF, for the first time in this history of the rivalry in women's basketball, had the best player on the court, and it wasn't even debatable. KK Wright's the best player on the court when these two teams play. That hasn't been the case in the past, but it showed in the fourth quarter. She dominated. She took over the game. South Florida had no answer for her, and that was a signature win for her because that was a huge win. It salvaged the week, and it keeps them in the mix for a possibility of the NCAA tournament as Charlie Cream, again, put them in the next 4. Now, they got to finish strong. A lot of work to do. That was a significant game and a signature game. When we look back in KK's career, that's one of the games that jumps to mind. Well,
the UCF's RPI right now coming into this week is 61. Their opponents this week, Tulane's at 126, Memphis at 165. That's not going to really help you very much.
But you got to win. Got to win games.
You got to win. That, right. So those become must wins. And then their game next Wednesday against Temple. Temple is right with them at 57. So that game in Philadelphia next Wednesday becomes really big, doesn't it?
Well, it is, but Tulane, I know they are undefeated. They are the surprise of the league. Coach Stockton, quietly, it's their best start they've had in a long time. And this is where I am. This is the flaw with the RPI, and that's why I don't believe that the RPI should be end-all, be-all, because sometimes the RPI is very misleading. UCF lost at Tulane last year. That's not an easy place to play. So that's going to be interesting how they play in that game, considering all the emotional games at Cincinnati, UConn, USF. Now you got to go to Tulane before this you got the Memphis home game. But you're right. Temple's a big game on the road as well. They're going to have to win games and finish strong. The goal is, and it's no different, you try to finish second in the league because you're then more than likely going to be on the opposite bracket of UConn come the conference tournament. And then if you can make it to the final, you put yourself in a position with a good performance to maybe squeak into the NCAA tournament, probably get bussed to Tallahassee because, God forbid you send teams on a flight. But that's the goal. That's why the South Florida win, and we said this last week, was just as big as the UConn game because it kept them afloat, and it was a signature road win. And I thought it was a good week, and that UConn game could be a turning point for them defensively after struggling at Cincinnati.
All right, so we'll be watching that game in New Orleans Wednesday night, and then the game at home against Memphis on Saturday. And you can watch those games. The Tulane game is going to be televised on. By the way, they're all going to be televised, I think, on Watch ESPN. Oh wait, the Memphis game will be on Twitch. But the Tulane game will be on Watch ESPN. So look out for that. All right, when we get back. Special interview.
I thought it was American. It might be American Digital Network as well. I don't know. So
we'll double check that. Check our Twitter feed. We'll have that up for you as well. UCF_Banneret on Twitter. All right, we're going to continue the hoops talk here in a little bit when we return. Joining us, a special guest to talk about his career at UCF and also our all-decade teams that we have that we've been pumping out. There's particularly the men's basketball team. Former UCF forward Tristan Spurlock joins me and Elo here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. You do not want to miss this. Stick around. We'll be right back. And joining me now here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, he just got out of practice with his team with the Mexican Liga Nacional Baloncesto Profesional, the Aguacateros of Michoacan.
You said that great.
I did. Okay, good. I'm glad I got it. I was wondering if I would. Tristan Spurlock joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. What's going on, number one? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. You said that way better than I said it when I first got here. So you're ahead of me already.
I appreciate that, man. So, all right. So, first of all, now that I got everybody updated on where you are right now, you guys are in the semifinals of the Mexican League playoffs. What are you guys up to right now? And you guys are starting the semifinals tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, well, tomorrow is the conference finals. This year it's been really tough. I think we were third place, and we just beat the second place team. So we had to go to Capitanes, which is in Mexico City. Played 2 tough games on the road. We won the first one, lost the second, and then we won 3 straight at the crib. So it was a great feeling for us. First time in franchise history that we've been able to do that. It was great. It was a great feeling. Great team win too. A lot of team wins. Every game was close. So right now, we just finished practice, getting some shots up, and then we got a big one tomorrow, game 1.
You this year, I'm looking at your stats for this year. You're averaging 6.8 points, 1.4 assists, 4.9 rebounds in 20 minutes a game. What's it like playing down in Mexico, and how different is it for, I guess, compared to playing in the United States, aside from things like the language barrier and all that?
Being in Mexico has actually been one of the better places I've been when it comes to being overseas, because you are kind of still in North America. So you get kind of like that feel of, oh man, I'm not, too far from home. I'm only about a 3-4 hour flight away from being home. So I love it. I love it here. For me, I was having a great year up until I got hurt my foot. I missed about 6 games. So I'm just now starting to get my rhythm back. So for me, it was a good first half of the year. Had some really, really big games. So now, I was out for about, I want to say almost a month, and then just trying to get everything back. And I kind of started to hit my stride right now back, at a perfect time, because, it's the playoffs.
Well, yeah, exactly. The timing couldn't be better on that. So give me some of the guys on your teams that maybe some college basketball fans from the States might be familiar with.
We got a guy named Donald Sims. He played at Appalachian State. Probably their all-time leading scorer there. Big time guard. Jerome Mienzi, center from UVA. And it's funny because Jerome was a senior when I was a freshman at UVA. So
right.
I know him for, since I was a kid almost. Rodney Green, who went to LaSalle. His team went to the Sweet 16 with the TBT. So, he had a good summer, and he's been playing great for us. Everybody else is pretty much local. Then we got guys like, in the league, John Flowers. He played at West Virginia. You got guys like Joel James, who played at North Carolina. He played for Capitanes, the team we just beat. Mm-hmm. So you got guys all throughout the league. Greg Smith, he played in the NBA for a little bit. He's with a team that's in the Final Four as well as us. So it's a lot of guys here.
It's a lot of good talent that's heading down there, man. That's good to know. So let's take you back in time a little bit. Hop in the Wayback Machine, 2011 to 2014.
Not way back. Don't say way back. Don't say way back.
But it's you came to UCF. You're from the DMV originally.
Yeah.
You went to UVA for 1 year and transferred to UCF. What made you decide to go to UCF over any number of schools that you could have gone to when you left UVA?
Honestly, when I took my visit down there, I felt comfortable. Coach Jones was starting something new, and I wanted to be a part of it. And then I loved it, man. When I walked on campus, I'm from DC, so it's cold, and in Charlottesville, UVA was cold as well. So when I got down there and seen the weather and everything was nice and the facilities, and I didn't know that UCF was one of the biggest schools in the country, and everything. Everything was just up and coming, and it felt great to be a part of that, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I was excited.
You made an immediate impact when you came to UCF, and I'm looking back at some of your stats. That first year, 7 points in Conference USA, but then you worked your way into the starting lineup for your junior and senior years. You averaged over 11 points, and you played on some teams that were really, I think, key in transitioning UCF from Conference USA and then into the American, where UCF played in your senior year. What was that transition like for the program? Because you were on the front lines of it, and there were some teams that came from Conference USA with you to the American, but not everybody. It was a big step up in competition, wasn't it?
It was huge for us, and at a point where we lost, to me, arguably decade player of the year, since we're talking about the decade thing. We lost Keith Clanton as we go to the toughest conference in America almost. We had Louisville, who won the year before, UConn, who won the national championship that year in the American. SMU was top 5. I think SMU didn't lose a game. I think Cincy and SMU are combined 24-1.
Yeah.
And then you still have your Temple, who's really good. Rutgers was always going to be good. They're tough to beat. I think they're ranked this year. You know what I mean? So for us, it was tough. I mean, me and Isaiah were the 2 leaders. We were the 2 older guys, and then we had a bunch of young guys. Matt Williams, he was super young then. We had Brandon Goodwin. who's killing for the Hawks right now. But
he's in the NBA.
He's in the NBA. He was a freshman. And, we have big Justin McBride. And I thought, to me, I thought Justin was probably the most potential, what's the word I'm looking for? He had the most potential, but, like, it just was oozing out of him. Like, I've never seen a kid with that much potential, being 6'10", 340, soft touch, could pass, could shoot, could get up and down the court. So we were really young, but I think we just didn't have enough time to put it together. Maybe if Isaiah, who arguably could have been decade player of the decade himself, he had triple doubles and everything. So, I think me and Isaiah maybe had one more year with that group. I think we really could have set it off. I think that could have been, really big for us. But it was just kind of like, we're older, we're leaving, they're too young. It was tough. It was very tough.
Yeah. Eric's back. Eric Lopez, by the way, is back with us now here. So, Tristan, tell me about, we wanted to reach out to you because you'd reached out to me on Twitter, and we're talking about the UCF All-Decade team, and we got you on this team because, well, obviously you deserve it. All the games you played, and the great, that a lot. Yeah, and the great moments that you gave us. We got so I got to get your input first of all on our starting five here because you fashioned yourself.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Right.
And I'm still close with everybody. Mostly everybody. I talk to everybody a lot. So for me, it's funny being able to put this in the group chat and get everybody's opinions. So I'm ready. I'm ready for the starting five. Because I might do my starting five might be different. I'm telling you.
Okay.
My five might be a little different.
All right. So and you fashion yourself, by the way, as a historian on UCF basketball, and you got some cred to back up with that. So, all right. It was myself and Luke Saris and Eric and Brian Murphy. We all put our heads together and we came up with this starting five, right? We got B.J. Taylor and Matt Williams in the backcourt.
B.J. and Matt, okay.
Okay. We've got Isaiah Sykes and Keith Clanton as the forwards.
Okay, I'm not mad at that.
And oh, good, I'm glad. And then
those are my guys. Look,
I know.
all of these are my guys too. So it's so funny because even Taco. I just talked to Taco a couple of days ago, maybe like a week ago. So all these are my guys. So
yeah,
this is okay.
We put Taco in at the center. So what do you think about that starting five?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I might have to, I might have to have Marcus Jordan starting, man. Marcus might gotta be my starter.
Okay.
He might have to. Marcus and here's my vouch for Marcus.
Okay.
Marcus, really, when we first made that transition, first of all, everybody think we need to thank Marcus because we're all Nike now. Let's be honest. Let's just give him the thanks. Thank you, Mike.
I'm glad somebody said it. I couldn't say it, but I'm glad you said it.
I'll say it. Come on, I'm appreciative because it might have been a different Tristan Spurlock if we were still Adidas. We're Nike. I was happy. Hey, we're good to go. So now you gotta think Marcus. Marcus had a great sophomore run. I think that was his sophomore or junior year, because he didn't come back for his senior year. Maybe that was his junior year where we were ranked. No, his sophomore year. His sophomore year. We were ranked. We were ranked, not just like top 25. We were, I think, at one point 13 or 14. I think we had won like 16 straight games. We had beat Florida at the Amway. We had beat that was his sophomore year. Yep, we beat Florida at the Amway. We went down to Miami, beat Miami. I'm huge on having Marcus in that starting group just because like I just feel like he did so much in a short period of time. He was really good, really good for a short period of time. He only, his freshman year was okay. Sophomore year was great. Junior year, we were up and down. Still went to the NIT. Mm-hmm. And then, he didn't come back for his senior year. But, he won a lot. We won a lot of games. And he was a big part of that.
We've got him on there. We got him as, like, the sixth man. We've got
I see him up there. Yeah, no, he got
he's on the team. Well, and I'll tell you this, Tristan. And Jeff, I think, will allow me to share this. We've done, like, all these decade teams for all these other UCF sports. There was not a more hotly debated within the staff. We had the staff picked, and Jeff can back me up. There was not a more highly debated hot topic than that guard position between Matt Williams, Marcus Jordan, who had his support, and Aubrey Goff. That was the constant.
Oh man, I forgot about Aub.
See, Aub's a tough case because he's kind of like a mini Marcus because he only played really 1 year. I wish we could have had him for two, don't you?
Tough. I love Aub, man. I see Aub Aub is my guy. Every time I lead a gym, I always see Aubrey in there. See, and Caesar too. Caesar's another guy who's playing now. I saw him every single night in the gym. So nothing he's doing this season surprises me because he's a gym rat. But that's so tough. I love it. I love Aub. I love Aub. Great guy too. Yeah. Great guy.
No, and I'm saying it was hard. It was hard to pick on the starter. Matt got the nod for a few couple reasons.
Okay. Now here's my question with Matt. Matt got the nod over Marcus because of longevity, or do y'all think, or body of work? Because Matt had a great last year. I think his last year, oh my gosh, he set records hitting threes from half court. It was like Johnny Dawkins came in and just unlocked the Matt Williams code. I mean, but the crazy part is Matt Williams as a freshman, first day of freshman pickup, shoots a shot, 2 steps inside of half court, switches it right in my face. I said, oh, he's different. It was telling me, like, you have to come guard me, hit a shot, boom. I was like, what is this? Where we get this kid from? He come in shooting from half court and was lights out from day one. Matt would have been really, really good. Matt got hurt too his freshman year, got sick and had that. So, I mean, Matt, some stuff derailed Matt too. Matt could have been an easy 12, 13, 14-point scorer game, you know?
I think it's because he came out of there with the all-time 3-point lead. I think that's probably why.
Yeah, you got to give him that now. Okay, so he's the all-time 3-point shooter of the decade.
Arguably, maybe the best shooter ever in program history. I mean, the guy. I mean,
arguably, because I love MOD. That's my guy. I'm not going to disrespect my man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disrespect my guy. I don't want to get a text from him, but MOD's up there. But I'm not going to lie to you. When one shot in the gym, I'm putting my money on Matt Williams for sure. For sure, not even close.
All right, so let me give you the last 4 guys we got. We put AJ Ramsa in there, and I know that some fans might think
be Mr. UCF.
Right. I mean, and I know that a lot of fans are kind of, he's kind of has a mixed reputation with the fans because of how everything ended. But look, I watched the games, man. He was a spark plug.
I don't think AJ has a mixed emotion. I think if you poll, 95% of fans love AJ. AJ is the guy, man. I've never been at a school with a guy bigger than AJ Ramsa. We had Marcus Jordan on the team. AJ Ramsa was like a cut above all of us. No, I mean, it was
still
just
remember the buzzer beaters against Tulsa.
The shot.
Yeah.
The shot. I was lifting him up. I remember. I was sitting out that year. I was lifting him up. AJ was huge for us. Yeah. I think if AJ was around now with the social media era, he'd be way bigger. If he was playing at this point, the stuff he was doing, the step back threes, and AJ had some flair with him. He didn't care. He was gonna shimmy. He was gonna put his tongue out. He was gonna talk trash to you. Yeah. I think AJ guard wise, you got to put him up there. Stats wise, I don't think his stats jump out at you, because he was a real. He really was playing the point. He wasn't like trying to shoot every shot, but. AJ got to be up there for me. He's got to be up there.
Great ball handler, great facilitator, and was clutch.
He was a leader. Yeah. You can't stat that. Heart and soul, got us ready to go to war before every game. AJ could talk you into running into a wall for him.
And then we got 3 forwards. We got AJ Davis, Colin Smith, who's on the team now, of course, and Chad Brown, who just graduated. What do you think?
Not mad at Colin. He's having a great year. Great year for us this year. He's putting up some good numbers, being really solid, being the anchor for us, honestly. Because I don't get to watch every game, but box score-wise, it seems like he's just the same double-doubling guy every night or, close to it. Not mad at that. AJ Davis had a very, very underrated. He could have snuck into that starting 5. Oh, it's so tough because I like HC. I honestly might have put Zeke at the point, to be honest with you, because Zeke played a lot of point. I know we have him at the 3, but Zeke was great at the 1. He had the most triple doubles in an NCAA season,
right?
At one point, so you might have to slide Zeke to the point.
I want you to talk about Zeke. I mean, what made him so great? Because I remember him as a freshman coming in. He was still learning and he just blossomed and he worked his tail off and made himself the player that he was. Just talk about him, being around and what made him so good. Because I was blown away from his freshman year from his freshman year. I mean, I've never seen a player that big of a jump.
Man, it was him. He decided, like, I'm just going to be – Zeke was the first person who understood how Zeke played. So what he learned was, this is how I can score. This is how I can be great. This is what I'm going to do, and no one's going to make me do anything else. Like, you're not going to make me shoot 5 threes a game because that's not what I want to do. I want to get to my spots, and I'm going to get to the rim, and he worked on it. He just did it every summer. He worked on it. He worked on his shot, but he was unstoppable going to the basket, definitely going left. If he got ahead of steam going left, you might as well cancel Christmas because he was going to get to that spot. He was going to bump you and won you and score. And he also passed the ball. He wasn't selfish. Great teammate. Loved to be around him. We lived together. Me and Zeke lived together. Me, Zeke, and Keith lived together for, I think, 1.5 years, 2 years. And it was great. It was cool. Yeah, I think Zeke might have been my point guard in that team, in that 5. I might move Zeke to the 1. My 5 is more like who we can beat. Like, if I had to take my 5 and say, this is my decade 5, who can we beat? Like, I think we could beat this team. We could have beat that team. So my 5 looks a little different.
Who's your 5?
Yeah, give us your 5.
come on, let's not do this. Like,
it's not so easy. It's not so easy.
Look, they're not going to get mad at you.
Because my five is going to be all guys I played with.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So my five is going to be guys that I got to be on the court with because I know for a fact, like, okay, I know what, you know what I mean? So my five might have been Zeke at the 1.
Yep.
Zeke at the 1. I'm going to go Matt at the 2. I'm going to go I really like me at the 3, Keith at the 4, and then actually, you know what? I'm going to go AJ Davis at the 3. AJ Davis at the 3, me at the 4, Keith at the 5. Sorry, Talk. I didn't play with you. Sorry, Talk. I ain't play with you. Sorry.
All based on who he
Love
played
you, Talk. Love you, Talk. I ain't play with you. We would have pick and popped you all day, Talk. Sorry. I got my dogs.
So who do you think we're probably missing out of this group of 12 guys? Who you
Because a lot of things about these UCF guys that I like is that they got so much better after UCF. Like you got Shahid Davis is playing top level Japan.
Right.
You know, he's having a great career. He played in Italy last year, one of the biggest clubs in Italy. But he didn't have the greatest UCF career. You know what I mean? You got guys who else? Brandon Goodwin. I mean, we can't really put him on there. But I mean, if you could, he had a great pro career. He's killing it right now. So
I just watched him beat the Magic in person a few weeks ago.
Do you see him do the slip it? You see him do the slip and slide?
I know, man.
He's looking great. Me and AJ, me and Brandon literally talked a couple, like maybe 3 days ago. We were just laughing about everything. Now, it's funny.
Now you said you come back to campus over the summer.
Every year, every summer. I'm there.
So tell us about like what Coach Dawkins does for the alumni like you guys, letting you guys into the gym.
Coach Doc is great. He opens up the gym for us. Lets us change in the locker room, everything, and it's pretty much the same staff that's there. It's still same security. My dog Whit still does the laundry there. So I mean, it's like familiar faces. It's like family when you walk back in there. All the assistant coaches are great. They all want to, come talk. If you need anything, if you need anybody to make a call for you, they're willing to do it. So it's great. UCF is, they're really big on bringing us back and making sure we're, in the gym and visual and there.
Do you still keep in touch with Coach Jones? I know he's having a pretty good year up at Stetson this year.
I talk to Coach Jones all the time. Now that he's at Stetson, I wanted to come see him this summer, but me and Keith didn't get a chance. But yeah, I always talk to Coach Jones. He always hit me up after games when he sees the score and, says, hey, good game, or, work on this and work on that. But Coach Jones, was a real big part of me developing, in a lot of different areas, just not letting me just shoot the 3, but telling me dunk everything. Dunk, you need to dunk more. You're not dunking enough. He used to be like, you're acting like Wilt Chamberlain's in the paint. Go dunk the ball. So, Coach Jones was really big for me with some of my best dunks because he, yelled at me. He told me I was playing soft. Go dunk the ball. Okay, Coach, I'm just going to jump. And
was that?
I'm just going
was that? I was going to say, was that for you? Like like when the light went off when you were playing college basketball? It's like, I know, a coach like Coach Jones knows. He sees my potential to do something, and then like, was that the real like light going off in your head about like the potential that you could reach as a player?
I think Coach helped me focus more. I think I knew that coming in because I was highly touted out of high school. And then once I got to college, UVA kind of like derailed me a little. I kind of got down on myself. But when that sit out year, Coach really pushed me to be everything. Shoot more threes. You can shoot more, drive more, dribble more. So, at times it would be nothing for me to be the backup 2. And I think my junior year, I was like the backup point because, Daquan was young. We had a lot of young guys. So he was like, Trish, you got to play the point. You got to bring it up now. Or point forward, get a ball rebound, get it a push. Or, all right, you will be at the 3 today. I was just at the 5 or the 4 last week. Nope, 4, 3. So he was great for me. Great, 100%.
Go ahead, Eric.
Talk about Keith. He was actually at the South Florida game.
This man. He got to go home.
Yeah, he got good courtside seats, too. A guy knows how to get around.
How do you get courtside seats? NCAA needs to look into that. NCAA, I need to look into that. But we need to
talk to him. He knows
watch
people
him.
there.
Watch him, man. Act like he did something at UCF. He won some games or something. I just want to say for my all-decade team, Keith is my center because he hit the biggest layup maybe in UCF history when we beat Memphis. You got to
give him
that. One at the time I was there. Yeah.
And the free throw.
Yep. Well, he was such a great player. I mean, talk about him, about what it was like to play with him because – I don't know. I think he maybe was underappreciated at the time, but I think people reflect. I mean, he's one of the best players ever in program history. He's probably going to get into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame here within the next
For
year
sure.
or two, if not sooner.
Got to.
What made him such a great player?
I think the fact that he was probably Mr. Consistent. He was so consistent every game. You knew what you were getting from Keith. You knew whether it would be blocks, rebounds. Is he number one in blocks?
He's up there. I got Taco's number one.
Taco and Keith. If you look at every defensive stat right now, it's Taco and Keith. It's a very safe bet right now.
Yeah, for sure. Everything. Yeah. So I mean, you got to think. So if you minus Taco, Keith is probably arguably the greatest defensive player there. Rebounds, blocks, and he scored. You know, his senior year was a little up and down because teams just collapsed on him. But you know, me and Isaiah, we benefited from that every time. I mean, it was one game versus ECU. I had like 25 and 12 because Keith was getting triple teamed. And I'm just getting open looks. Zeke had a triple double because every team was like, Keith's not going to beat us. So me and Zeke were able to expand our games. So then it was great for us. It was really good. I loved it.
Yeah,
you know who might have to sneak in? You know who might have to sneak in my decade team, man? We might have to talk about Casey Wilson, man, because he led the NCAA in 3-point percentage. He might got to get some. You know, he didn't have the greatest senior year, but he had his sophomore year, junior year was a good year. He led the NCAA
he was a
in
deadly
3-point
shooter.
percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might not get enough votes to get in.
His name has popped up. His name has popped up as a snub, and you know how this works, right? Like no matter who you put in,
he's going to be a snub. For sure.
It's unbelievable, but he's definitely a name that's come up as far as in the conversation from feedback from fans and things like that. And you're right, he was a 3-point shooter expert. What was the Memphis game? Is that your favorite moment of your UCF career? What was your favorite moment game that jumps out? I mean, that Memphis game, I remember the fans.
That Memphis game.
It was huge.
Moment as a team, that was the biggest one because that was my first time ever being part of somebody rushing the court. But honestly, the win versus UConn, we beat UConn the year after they won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Beat them handedly.
That's
kind of beat them by like
Bahamas?
8 or 9. Yep, that was huge for us.
Yep.
I think we celebrated that for like 3 weeks. We celebrated that one for like 3 weeks. Every time we beat UConn. That one, I mean, personally, I had some personal games that I appreciated. Every win versus USF was great. I think the last one, my senior year at their place, that was a big one. I had one of my best stat lines. It was crazy. It was like 16, 11, 7, 5, 3. It was something ridiculous. And then the only game I remember that I really liked that we lost was at Louisville. I had a really good game at Louisville, but that was the only one that like 25 and 10. And then everything else was wins. All our big wins on the road. But yeah, Memphis was probably because that was our first time beating Memphis in school history.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So Memphis was a big one.
That was when Memphis was Memphis. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're kind of trying to be Memphis again now, but that's when they were. That's when I think Callie Perry had just left. Derrick Rose, they still had Tyreek Evans had just left. They had both the Bartons. They had Tyreek Black. Yeah, they had a lot of guys. They were good. DJ Steffens, who could jump out on a trampoline. They had a lot of guys, but we beat them. And then I remember it like it was yesterday. We beat them, stormed the court, and played them at Memphis like 6 days later, and they beat us by like 20. And I was like, oh, this is a different team. I was like, oh, yeah, this is a different team at their place. Yeah, we're not going to win this one, fellas. Yeah. It's okay.
They're like they were ready for us that game.
Oh, yeah. Hey, this is why you don't storm the court. Okay, I get it.
What do you miss the most?
Better, by the way. In our defense, we didn't know any better back then.
Right.
No. We was just everything was new. Everything was new. I think it's kind of great that Johnny has us now expecting to win. Right. I think it's more and I'm on the other side of it, so it's kind of I watch the tweets and the stuff people say during the games, and it's kind of like, wow, I hope they didn't say this about me when I was playing. But I like us this year. I do. I think we're a little up and down. I think we're trying to find our identity. We got so many new guys playing. Not like we have new guys on the team. We have a lot of new guys playing. So you got like 4 guys who are integrated on the team. It's their first time playing together. It's gonna take a minute to even get the right lineup, let alone know guys' spots, and it's just different. So I think we have a solid team though. Solid.
What do you miss the most about your time at UCF?
Oh man, that's tough. Love the weather. Love being down in Florida. Let me see, man. Being with my team, being with my guys every single day. Because my unit, the solid 7 guys I was with were the best. Keith, Zeke, Dwight McCombs, like my big brother. I talk to Dwight McCombs every day. I talk to Keith every day in the summertime when we get back. Guys I've been with like forever. We just went to Dwight's baby shower this summer. Amar Thompson, who was only there for a couple years with me. Dave Dykite, who lives, is from DC. So when I committed and came down to UCF, I was in his room every day for the first 2 months. I didn't leave his room. I didn't know anybody, didn't talk to anybody, but if you needed to find Tristan, I was in Dave's room. Yeah, my guys, man, Romps up, even Marcus, even being with Marcus, and a lot of people can say what they want, but Marcus was cool, man. Marcus was like every other teammate. If he was your friend, he was your friend. If you didn't really talk to him, you really didn't talk to him. But Marcus was great when it came to coming to every function, chilling, being a part of the jokes, laughs, everything. So it was cool, man. I love my they're my best friend of all time, man. Rod Days, that was my little brother. I was with him all 3 years. He was there. So it was great. I had fun. Casey, I literally, I can just go down the list and name everybody I played with. Bobby Herdowski, you know what I mean? Bobby was a manager who became a player. Now he's assistant coach now. All my guys were good. All of them. Loved them.
Gosh, it was a good time. I think that, UCF basketball, we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the first UCF team, and there's been a lot of eras in UCF basketball, and I think that the era that you guys played in, you and those guys, was such a critical era because, there were some great highs, and even the lows, showed the potential that the program could have. I guess my last question for you, and then I'll turn you over to Eric if he's got anything more, is where were you last March for that first round of the tournament? And
I was at home. Man, I have video, I have proof of all of this. I was at home. I have guys friends who went to VCU. I had, because, I'm not in NCAA anymore. I had bets.
Yeah.
We won that game. And I have, so many Duke friends who never went to Duke. You know what I mean? I have so many Duke friends who never stepped on a, Duke, floor. Never met Coach K, but they
never even been in the state of North Carolina.
You've never even, met anybody who played at Duke. But you just love Duke so much. So I was talking trash. And one of my good friends, Andre Dawkins, he actually played at Duke. So it was, funny for me, tweeting him, and then all of my friends were on his side. Yeah, you right, Andre. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, guys. I'm about to go watch the game with you guys. What is going on here? But I had my jersey on. When we played VCU, I had my jersey on. I took it out the frame, put my senior day jersey on, and watched the game from start to finish, and we won. So I did the same exact thing. I was going to go out and chill, but I stayed in, sat on the sofa with jersey on, and I feel like we got cheated anyway. But it's okay. I'm still not over that one. That one kind of hurt.
Dude, we're not gonna. I don't think we're ever gonna get over that game as long as we all live. But I tell you,
kind of hurt. Don't really want to talk about how, what I'm saying, you're allowed to just push the guy under the basket and then get the offensive rebound and get the foul. It's cool. We're not going to talk about that one. Okay.
Or the other 3 or 4 times that happened. I want Eric to have the last word.
And then here's my thing, right? We were so close. We were.
I know.
Aubrey, if the ball, and the thing is, everybody wants to focus on the Aubrey tip. I focus on Dayon throwing the lob. If Dayon don't throw the lob, we good. Dayon just hold the ball, baby. That's what I would have done. I would have been nervous, but he had just thrown the lob to Chad. Chad dunked it. And, and I think Chad is like AJ when it comes to the decade list. Numbers don't scream at you, but yes. Chad had left a big impression. So I can see why some people might be mad that Chad slid in there because off numbers and starts and career stuff maybe. But Chad, I used to call him Mr. UCF. He was just on everything. Yeah. Everything. He brought so much energy and stuff. And Chad was kind of his numbers are down more so because he's a true center. And he was behind Taco. Him and Taco came in together. So he was never going to, start over Taco. So it was kind of hard. And you can't really play them together. So, but I like that you.
So that's what made him so valuable was when Taco was in foul trouble or matchups kind of dictate where Taco couldn't be on the court, they could bring in Chad. And he was the energy guy. And you have to have that, right? And it's a team when maybe some nights you're coming out flat, there's that guy that comes in and brings the energy. And that was Chad Brown. That's why we put him on the team because he was like a leader. He was you mentioned it. The stats do not describe what Chad Brown meant to the program and those teams.
Right.
Who would you guys? Okay, who do you guys think got the biggest snub? That's my question. Who do you guys think? Looking at y'all listing, who y'all had? Who do y'all say?
I think you're right. I think Casey has the argument. I think you made a good. Casey is probably the one that probably with his shooting. That was hard. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was hard. But again, it's always the argument. Well, who do you take out, right? I mean, these guys are all worthy, have their own deal. I was just happy when your name came up that everybody was in approval. I was worried I had to fight for you. But,
I appreciate that too, man. Hey, listen, man, don't make me have to bring out the stat book, man. I have to start checking off some games and stuff, some wins, some key wins we got. I don't want to have to do that. I was glad to see me up there too. I would have been a different conversation on here. I'd have been, had to politic for myself. Hey guys, come on, man. I'm glad we got the W too.
Now let me ask you. Now you transferred here, and because this has been a topic here, obviously with Dejon Ingram transferring in, Matt Milan transferring in.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think people always, hey, they should just blend in right away, but it's not that simple, right? I mean, you got to think
these guys.
You got to learn everything.
Yeah, these guys transferred in and had to play right away. I got to sit for a year.
Right.
I got to sit. I got to, pretty much be on the team and not be on the team. Hard.
Describe that. What is that like?
Sitting or they're playing right away?
All of the above. Just take me through that process, because I don't think fans understand what you have to go through when you do come in as a.
Sitting is hard. Sitting is one of the hardest things you have to do, because you're doing everything they're doing every day. I'm going to shoot around. I'm going to class. I'm going to practice. I'm doing conditioning. I'm lifting weights. I'm running. I'm practicing just as hard as they are. And then game day, I'm sitting there in a polo having to watch. It sucks. It's the hardest thing. And then you kind of get rust, because now you're like, all right, so this move that I know will work on, we got to work on this, got to work on that. Then the next year comes in, you pretty much have a whole new team. So, some guys transfer, somebody's leave. Some, you got guys who freshmen come in. So now it's still not 100%. Like, you're still adjusting. When you got to come in, and it's not as hard of an adjustment as my guys like Dayon and Matt, Milan, and even the kid from Texas A&M. I don't want to mess his name up. I forgot, but.
And then Mahan,
Mahan, yeah. I seen him this summer too. Can really shoot it. Mahan, they had to come in and play right away. That's even more difficult, because now you're learning on the fly. Now you're like, all right, do I want to do this? I played for a whole nother team last year. Dejon, he's in a different situation, because he actually played a lot at Alabama, was asked to do a lot at Alabama. But Matt was too, in a whole different system. So now you're leaving your comfort zone where you was at for 3 years, where all your friends are. And especially, Matt might have it a little bit easier because he's from Orlando. I remember him coming to UCF CHAMPS. So, it might be a little different for him, but for everybody else, that's tough. That's a tough adjustment.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it was a lot of fun watching you play. It was a lot, and that group in particular. And
man, we had a lot of fun. I feel like the nightmare section was really good with us, but it got great as when the team started winning, when Johnny came, and I would have loved to play in some of those blackout crowds. We had a couple. We played a couple of those crowds. I don't know if you guys remember them Southern Miss games. Those were
Southern Miss was always tough, man. That I don't know what it is about that program. Larry Eustace, yeah.
Gosh, and then playing in Southern Miss, playing at Southern Miss was a whole nother ball game. You playing at Southern Miss, man, you might as well just hope you can get out of there, let alone win.
Right.
Man, it was rough playing down there. But yeah, we had some. I love how the nightmare is now. I love that, when I say UCF, it just rings such a big bell. And guys, I'm also a huge football fan, UCF football fan. So if we have any more, I almost had an argument with the running backs too for the all-decade team.
Okay, hit us up.
Listen. One name we're not going to forget is Storm Johnson. I just want to say that. I just want to throw that out there. Storm Johnson was really big for us at UCF at running back. When Latavius got hurt that year, Storm came in and played great, and then Tay came in and took it over. So I'm just saying, we gotta remember him too.
Let's see. I'm pulling it up right now.
We got Storm on the team. I think we had him in the second team.
We had him on the second team. Yeah. That's right. We had him on the second team.
Latavius got to be one.
Latavius is one,
team, right?
And we put Adrian Killens as the second running back on the first team.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I love AK. Love him. He's oh my goodness. He's gonna be on Sunday. He's gonna play on Sunday for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
You see the game he had at the Shrine Bowl too.
I watched the highlights. I watched his highlights. I didn't get to watch the game. I watched his highlights.
He had 7 catches in the game for 91 yards. And
who did you guys start at quarterback? That's a really good question. Who was the starting quarterback of that team? That's what of the all-decade team. Who we got
all right,
there?
we put Mackenzie Milton as the starter on the first team, and then on the second team we put Blake.
Hold on now. Let's talk about this. About this. Let's not let NFL Blake get us distracted from college Blake. Let's not let college Blake get us distracted from what Blake did. We went to Baylor when Baylor was putting 60 on people, and really put. I love Milton though. That boy could play. Boy, I was so upset when he got hurt. That boy got game.
It's a hard call, man. It was an easier call for Eric when he wrote it up.
Guys, I'm always gonna go for guys that I went to school with. Me and Blake had classes together. I remember when Blake in class told me, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna start at quarterback," and I was like, "Start at quarterback? We got Jeff Godfrey. What you starting at quarterback?" It's tough. It's tough on that one.
I'm glad you got Blake's back because Milton's obviously his numbers. He was a top 10 Heisman finalist back-to-back years. That he won out in our vote.
Blake
was amazing. But Blake was amazing without question. And I hope people don't lose track of that, because think of all the comebacks he helped us too.
Oh, yeah.
Get to the Baylor Fiesta Bowl. I think back to the comeback against Louisville that year, against Teddy Bridgewater, head to head.
It beat him.
Comeback. Yeah, it beat him. Exactly.
J.J. Wharton with the catch. J.J. Wharton with the catch. J.J. Wharton with the catch. Jeff Godfrey got to get some more love too.
See, he was the one. He was the one that I'm sad we couldn't fit in, because
Jeff argued for him. It was hard to figure out.
I really did.
Yep.
Because I think I would want to put him in as like a slash guy, right?
You can't. Yeah, because I mean, he wasn't. Jeff won us some games, but he wasn't consistently better than Blake or Milton.
Right.
And then at wide receiver, he just didn't do enough to beat a guy out like a Speedy or a JJ or a Rashad.
Right. It takes a special kind of guy to be a team guy, and
that's what he was.
When you were a freshman and you're the quarterback, and then I remember he initially left, and then he came back, and he's like, "Look, I'll play wide receiver. I'll do whatever I have to do for the team," and I always loved him for that as a fan.
I remember when he left, we were like, "What are we gonna do at quarterback?" That was the quarterback. Left and came back and said, "I'll do whatever. I'll play wherever you want me to play. I'll be quiet." And Larry runs a different type of ship than Faust and Hopewood are coaching now. Like, Leary was way different. Guys couldn't even have hair on their face. Like, because Leary was way different. He was running a different ship. So for Jeff to come back and agree to all of that, and then kind of get the role he got, he scored the game-winning touchdown versus Louisville. So I remember watching that game.
Greatest. God, what a night that was, man.
Is that our greatest football game?
It's up there. It's in the top 10 this decade, no doubt about it. It's got because that's the game that really ignited all this, don't you think?
Yeah, I think my freshman year when we beat, I think it was Georgia in one of those bowl games.
Yeah, the bowl game at the Liberty Bowl.
That was kind of awakening, but we had some good players, like good guys. I remember Terrence Plummer. He was big time. Yeah.
Plummer's on the team.
My boy there, man. He's a top linebacker, man.
TP, man. TP might sneak in there for player of the decade for me, guys. He was unbelievable.
I made the case. I think we said, like, defensive, as far as like best defensive players of the decade, it's him and Shaquem Griffin. I mean, they were tremendous.
Yeah, him and Shaquem. I think it's clear 1-2, 1-2, 2-1, whoever you want. I mean, it's just Shaquem brought so much, man. Every time people say Shaquem, they say UCF, and it was huge for us, So I'm not mad at that at all.
I hear you.
But TP was my guy, man. TP was huge, and we had some great cornerbacks and skill guys.
That was the toughest one. All the DBs that we had, it was just ridiculous.
Jeez, our DBs were tough.
DBU, man.
DBU, I'm not mad at that at all. Mike, even Shaquille, like we had some guys, man. We had that's. I don't want to be in the room for that discussion, the DB discussion. Put me in there for the running backs and quarterbacks. I'm not in there for the DBs. Y'all go with is what we go with.
We got it. All right, we got to hit you up for the remaining ones that we've got, because I know you got some good insight. We're gonna work. I'm working on the Eric and I are working on the all-decade women's basketball team. And I know we're probably going to need your help on that.
I'm telling you, UCF historian, I would have that for y'all so easy.
Okay.
I'm going to be in on that one. I'm going to be on the panel for that one.
All right. I'm going to make sure I text you, and we'll make sure that I get your stamp of approval on this.
Brianna Jackson would be my women's basketball player of the decade for sure. But she left with Louisville. But I don't know. She was special. She would be up there for me.
Cool.
But yeah, when y'all do that, let me know.
All right, man, we'll do. All right, I know we got to let you go. I know you got to get ready for the semifinals starting tomorrow for Aguacateros Michoacan. Michoacan, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Good luck. Listen, good luck in the semis, sir. And where can UCF fans follow you if they don't already?
Man, please follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, Tristan UCF1. For Twitter, and then for Instagram, I think it's T-Spur, TSPU, and 3 R's. And a funny story is Dwight McCombs made that for me. I never thought I was going to use Instagram, ever. He made it for me, and that's what they all call me. So, he was like, just put T-Spur. I was like, all right. And now I haven't changed it, and I still use it, so it's funny.
All right, Tristan, we'll be following you. I'll holler back at you at the women's team, and hey, listen, good luck in the semis. Good luck the rest of the way, and let us know when you're back in town, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate that all-decade team, too. Thank you, guys.
Gosh, that was like one of the best interviews I think we've ever had on the show. Tristan Spurlock, and we're so thankful to him for taking time out with his team in the playoffs in the Mexican Pro League. and taking time for us. And I know it went long, but I'm hoping that you listening enjoyed it as much as Eric and I did talking to him. We'll definitely have Tristan back on to talk more hoops.
A lot of fun
after the season's
high IQ
over.
Kid, high IQ, and he reached out to you, right? He reached out to you because he wanted to talk about the all-decade thing too, right?
Yeah, he reached out to me on Twitter because he said, "Look, man, I'm a UCF basketball historian myself," and I was like, "All right, let's do it." And we talked about it, and I was interested about, I thought what he had to say, about Marcus Jordan was really interesting. All right, so Murph, I want to bring you in on this. So Tristan brought up the point that instead of Matt Williams at the 2, Tristan would have put in Marcus Jordan, and he said it would have been a tough call over Aubrey Dawkins, but I think he would have put in Marcus Jordan. What do you think?
I think that putting not only the just the easy point that Matt Williams is the best shooter the school's ever had, but also the success of making it to that Final Four in the NIT plays a lot. And I think those two things of him being unquestionably the best shooter in school history and making it to, at that point, was a really high achievement for this program, the Final Four of the NIT. I think that gives him a leg up. That's just my take. Certainly over Aubrey, because we talked a lot about Aubrey, because he was just here, and I saw him a lot more than I saw Marcus Jordan.
And the last time we saw him was that spectacular game against Duke too. That was his masterpiece. It
was fantastic. And Aubrey, even before that, had some games like the Temple game they lost, where he was just outer-worldly great. However, it was 1 year, and I think the 4 years of work that Matt puts together and having that accolade of being the best at something gives him an edge.
I do.
And by the way, it's worth defending Tristan. Of course, he's going to defend the guys he played with. So, it wasn't a surprise he was playing. Defending. Marcus was good. I think the way things ended with Marcus probably didn't help there when we debated a bit. And the thing about Matt, without Matt Williams, they probably don't make the NIT that year, right? I mean, he just blew up, in Murph, and that was a remarkable run to get him to the NIT Final Four. Matt Williams was a big part of that. And I remember the following year, we were like, they don't have a Matt Williams this year. Among the we talked about earlier, all the issues they had injury-wise, but they didn't have a Matt Williams. It was not an easy guy to replace.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, he's arguably the greatest shooter of all time, if it's him or MOD, etc. But I think that I don't have a problem. It was a big debate between us and the staff. I know there's been a debate outside social media as well, which is fun. I love this fact. That's what it's cool, is that players care, and I think that's a cool thing. But I think Matt, for his longevity, what he set the standard shooting-wise, I think that's why he gets the nod over Marcus and Aubrey.
I do think two things. Number one, if only we got another year out of Aubrey. That would have been awesome to watch. And then number two, I do think Marcus Jordan is underappreciated for what he did for UCF when he was here on the floor and also off the floor, in terms of getting some attention for UCF and kind of raising the flag, saying, "Look over here, this school is really good." Michael Jordan's son's going here, and it's not just that, but I mean, I think he set his own standard for just. And by the way, one of the most amazing players that I've seen in terms of just raw ability to take the ball to the basket. He was a fullback in there, and he was fun to watch. And I don't think we appreciated it. The further we get from it, the more I appreciate the work that he did there, because he was a really hardworking kid, and that was a lot of fun to watch. So again, thanks to Tristan.
Yeah, thanks to Tristan. And I didn't want to get into it with Tristan, and I didn't want to bring it up because we were having fun with it, and I don't care personally about it, but I do think some of the reasons for that is the way, the violations afterwards and all that stuff, off the court with, and, obviously, again, the program, I think, kind of soured some people. I mean, some people, it hurt the program a little bit for a year or two from that standpoint. But I agree with you. I mean, Marcus, think back to the Florida game at Amway. I think back to the Marshall game. It was nearly 10,000, and Michael. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing back then. It was, hey, where's Mike? Oh, Michael Jordan's here. Wow. Yeah.
And Marcus had, and people remember this. David Bauman will remember this too. Marcus had one of the best dunks in UCF history at Stetson in the Edmonds Center.
Yep.
It's on YouTube. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Just look up Marcus Jordan dunk at Stetson. one of the most electrifying plays in UCF basketball, certainly for the last decade. So once again, thanks to Tristan. God, we love talking to him. Can't wait to talk to him the next time. It was just awesome. So thank you once
Murph,
again.
You missed it. I mean, we were recording while you were watching the Hall of Fame coverage, so that's why you weren't available. We understood that. But dang it, you missed a good one, man.
Yeah.
I was too busy. I was too busy overreacting to Derek Jeter's missing vote.
He was too busy sleuthing out the one guy who didn't vote in Derek Jeter. But anyway, again, thanks to Tristan, and stick around. We got a little bit of football news as we wrap up here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We'll be right back. All right, we're back to wrap it up here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. A couple of news and notes that we want to pass along here. UCF in space, the men's basketball, first time ever that they're doing this. February 9th against Tulsa, they revealed the uniforms. They are amazing. I got a story up on Black and Gold Banneret about that with the video that they used to reveal it. Man, this is awesome. There's a little bit of momentum behind the whole Citronaut thing. I'm just saying.
Well, that needs to end.
Awesome. All right.
No, UCF Nights is fine, okay? You want to throw this out here once a year, fine, whatever. But let's not get
It's so
carried away.
fun. It's like Christmas in January.
You know what well, they better win. Because if they lose, I want those jerseys to burn. So let's win the game and then move forward. That's my fault.
Women's tennis moved up to number 12, highest ranking ever in the Oracle ITA team rankings. They are they will be in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan for the ITA kickoff weekend. They face Utah on Saturday, and then will play either number 15 Michigan or Ole Miss on Sunday. Women's tennis. I tell you, Eric, this is the year for tennis.
When we're going?
This
when are
is
we
the
going?
year.
We're going to taking the show on the road?
I would not mind taking the show on the road. UCF men's tennis, by the way, starting off the season 1-1. They beat Mercer and then went up to Gainesville on Sunday. They lost to number 1 Florida, but they are they are out west this coming weekend to face number 24 San Diego and either number 10 UCLA or San Diego State. So some tough competition as usual for UCF men's tennis. We'll be monitoring that as it goes along. Okay, home opener for football against University of North Carolina. We have a date and a time. Friday, September. We do not have a time? Oh, you're right.
Date.
That's right. We do not have a time. I'm sorry. We do finally have a date, and I guess we could probably guess the time, right? Friday, September the 4th on opening weekend, UCF opening up at home against North Carolina. I would imagine that would be prime time. It is being picked up by ESPN.
Probably, if I had to bet, I would bet on a 7 o'clock game, just because they usually like to do double headers. They'll probably do a West Coast game at 10. So I would guess 7, unless they just don't find a West Coast game that they like. Then they can just do it at 8 o'clock. So that's why we probably won't know for another couple months on that. But no surprise, it's a good slot. The Friday night, which quietly has become a bigger deal for college football than even the Thursday night slot. They've been carrying more quality games on Friday night. And look, they love Mac Brown. They're going to love this North Carolina team with Sam Howell. I know Murph hates the hype, but it's going to be one of the more hyped UCF home openers that I can remember in a while. Like I'm thinking. I mean, Jeff, I'm trying to think of the last time we had a big time, and I'm not talking about, hey, this is Scott Frost's opener against FCS opponent. No, I'm talking about where there's going to be a lot of attention locally and nationally for this game with UCF and obviously Gabriel, Dylan Gabriel against Sam Howell, Mac Brown, UCF. I think it's going to be a very hyped home opener. I can't remember the last time we had a big home opener like that. Usually we open with FCS games and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be significant, I think, from that standpoint. Great exposure.
Probably since the Penn State game out in Ireland. I think that would probably be.
Last I checked, that wasn't home.
Well, yeah, fair. That's true. That's
a little far from Orlando.
Yeah, a little. Let's see, FIU in 2017. That wasn't it. We had some excitement around. I know it was South Carolina State, but the fact that Scott Frost, the new car smell in 2016, there was something around that.
This is as far as just this is a big game, exciting big game feel. I think this will be it. I mean, you could argue. I mean, it is. It's a big game field.
I don't think we've played a Power 5 team at home in the season opener.
Probably since Texas.
Boy, in a long time.
Right? Texas in 07, which ironically opened the stadium.
But that wasn't the season opener.
We hosted Akron to open the season back in 2013.
Yeah, that ain't
Terry
it.
Bowden, baby. I interviewed Terry Bowden when I was working at 1080. I was hosting the morning show that year, and I got the exclusive with Terry Bowden, who used to host. I was sitting on the chair where he used to sit when he was hosting the Drive Time show here in Orlando. So that's actually one of my favorite interviews, Murph. Thanks for bringing up Akron. That's good memory.
I think you're right, Eric, because I'm going through all the schedules of the past 15 years. It looks like the best home opener is going to be that Texas game.
Yeah,
7.
And UCF has never opened the regular season at home in the first week against a power conference opponent. It's never happened
since Texas.
No, not even since, because remember Texas was.
I see what you mean. You mean like literally the first game of the year.
Week 1. That's right. So because 07.
Are you talking about on campus though? Because I remember they.
No, not even in the Citrus Bowl.
No, that's not. They opened against Purdue Labor Day weekend in '99. I would know. I was there.
99. All right. Let's see how good your memory is, Lopez.
The Citrus Bowl day. I drove up. I lived in Miami, but I drove up.
Oh, you're right. You are right. My bad. All right.
So excited. I'm like, man, that'd be a great quarterback for the Dolphins. Little did I know they would pass on him twice. Thanks a lot.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. First time that UCF has faced a power conference opponent in the season opener at home since facing Drew Brees and number 22 Purdue in 1999. Well, no wonder I missed that one. It's the prehistoric days, 20 years ago.
I was there. I remember it very well. Had a fun time, and then unfortunately the game didn't go well. But it was a fun time, and that was the first game post Dante Culpepper era. That was when Big Penn made his first start for UCF.
Yeah. So. And then last but not
Murph, how about that memory on like very few hours of sleep from staying up from Australian Open, huh?
Listen, you do that to yourself.
I expect nothing less out of the UCF Athletics best historian, Eric Lopez.
And then last but not least, Murph, we got a new assistant coach for baseball with some major league experience, don't we?
Yeah, as much as people want to talk about football, that is 226 days away, whereas UCF baseball only 23 days away at this point, 2 days away from Friday's media day that's happening at the stadium on Friday. And yes, UCF does have its new volunteer assistant coach. It's Andy Barquette. Andy's a longtime minor league coach and manager for about 11 years with the Jacksonville Suns, the Marlins, I think AA affiliate. You got the Indianapolis Indians, the Cleveland AAA affiliate. But the last 2 years, Andy was the assistant hitting coach for the Boston Red Sox, who had some pretty good offenses in the past 2 years, and then obviously won a championship in 2018. He's now the new UCF volunteer assistant coach. He replaces Barrett Serrato, who is going to Kent State to be the recruiting coordinator. Barrett actually never was a coach for a game here. He joined in August after the promotion for Ted Tom. So Barrett's career was short. Now Andy Barquette comes in. We'll see what happens. Certainly you would love for him to be paid, but it doesn't look like that'll happen until at least 2021 because the NCAA they just can't get their eggs in a basket all over paying a third assistant coach for baseball and softball. It's a disaster. It's a sham. It's too bad, but it is what it is for now. Anyway, I can't wait for baseball.
Well, given that he's spent the last few years with the Boston Red Sox, I don't think he's probably not hurting for cash, is what I'm thinking, at least as of right now.
I don't know.
Well, based on the photo, he's hanging out with Mookie Betts. He should be all right.
People on Twitter being like, "Wow, we hired Mookie Betts."
maybe Mookie Betts will come by the John, see his old coach.
So, why not? No trash cans. In addition to that, so.
There we go. There's the material. What are you, Jeff? Working for Daily Stampede? Come on. They beat you to the punch. Murph, Media Day, baseball.
Still funny.
You mentioned Media Day Friday. I can't believe it.
What is
the biggest question or the number one question you're going to ask either to a respective player or to Coach Lovelady that you're looking forward to asking and getting an answer from on media day?
probably like, who the heck are you?
Well, I mean, sorta, not that deriding, not that derisive, but I sort of want to look at, like, Coach, what exactly is your offense? Like, who is on first? Like, what is on second? I don't know who's on third. I really don't. Because really right now, as far as I think, guys who are locked into their spots, we know that Dalton Wingo is going to be out there in the outfield somewhere. And then we thought maybe Ben McCabe would be the starting catcher, but he didn't apparently look great in fall ball. So Josh Crouch might be the catcher back there. And other than that, I really don't know if there's a lockdown spot in that starting nine. So it's almost a clean slate for this offense. That's really, and don't even get me started on all the pitchers coming back from injury. I mean, really, this entire team is one big question mark of just unknown quality and quantity. I have no idea. That's what I'm looking forward to. Is like, Coach, who are you? What is happening? That's my question. What is going on?
Yeah. Well, we'll have some more answers as time comes up, but
a little disappointed, Murph, that the who's going to win the Royal Rumble didn't come up, and you just
because it's probably.
Will you stop?
I'm just going to eye roll and then get out of there.
Save it for when WrestleMania comes around. Seriously. Now, when is that, by the way? April? Yeah. Oh,
that's in Tampa, Jeff.
Not only that, it's on my birthday, April the 5th. Oh, my God.
Nobody cares. There's a lick about that. What they do care about is that UCF Baseball plays a home series that weekend, I believe against Wichita State, really compromising Greg Lovelady's ability, and mine as well, to make it down to Tampa that night to watch WrestleMania. And, I'm sure. I wonder if he looked at the schedule, matched up the dates, and kind of got a little sad knowing that he's probably not going to go to WrestleMania just an hour and a half down I-4.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, we have that. We got plenty more to look at. We've got basketball coming up. Let's move on out of there real quick. We've got plenty more to talk about. We'll be releasing another all-decade team this week. And it's gonna be the women's basketball team. I'm gonna try and run it by Tristan Spurlock and see what he thinks about it, and we'll go from there. So like we said, spring sports coming around with tennis firing up. It's gonna be fun. So as we wrap up here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, we want to thank you all so much for listening once again. You can follow Brian at _Murphy. You can follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo.
Right. And I want to state for the record, I like the jerseys look nice, the citronaut looks nice. I just care more about winning and losses than how a team looks in their jersey. As long as they win. That's all.
Okay, congratulations on the most lukewarm take possible to close out the show. You can follow us collectively at UCF _Banneret and Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. And don't forget also to follow Luke Saris SBN on Twitter. Follow Derek Warden. He's got a basketball photo gallery, the first of the year, up right now. You owe it to yourself to check it out. It's amazing. _DS Warden on Twitter. Make sure you follow Jeremy Brenner on Twitter for the latest on UCF basketball as well. And you can also follow Squints _15, Anthony Lenahan. We're going to be working on some football breakdowns, I'm sure, very soon. And then Andrew Gooch as well. I want to thank, again, Drew for his work. He had his first story up a couple weeks ago on the actual top 10 rivalries in the American Athletic Conference. Statboy Drew on Twitter. Make sure you follow him there as well. So for all of us at Black and Gold Banneret, I'm Jeff Sharon saying thank you so much for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, and we will catch you next week.